In terms of that changing that process, it was just a matter of like surrounding myself with people who were very like-minded. I found my mentor, Barack Goldman at Dianza, and he taught me everything I know about storytelling. Yeah. So it all worked out, and just from then I just kept pushing and pushing, just wanting to do a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of trial and error for sure. There's a lot of stuff where it's like, should I be on this, or even people would question, it's like, man, why are you working these hours or whatever. I remember I worked on a music video for like 22 hours.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it went right into my birthday too.
Oh, really? And you were working?
Yeah. But it was for a good buddy, so for that type of stuff, it's like, it's long, it kind of sucks, but at the same time, it's like I know, I do something for him, he do something for me.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Knowledge Heist podcast. We're here with another heist with my guest, OG the Barber.
Okay.
And to my right, we have a very special guest who's going to introduce himself shortly. But once again, thank you guys for keeping up and watching. Feedback. I like the feedback we're getting on all the content we're producing. But that being said, keep striving and keep on learning. So to my right, we have a special guest. He's a freelance cinematographer, creative director, works at a studio, and I'm going to have him introduce yourself, man. Welcome to the show, man.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me. Hello, my name is Jon Uribe. I am a freelance cinematographer. I also work at a production studio, ad agency called Red Cube Studios, and we deal with all kind of different productions from web development to crowdfunding videos, commercial branded content, things like that. So I work there as a writer, a content creator, and a director, and then I freelance cinematography on the side. So.
Definitely, man. That's good stuff, man. And once again, I appreciate your time being here and to share your story, man.
But to be here, thank you.
Let's open up the stage by how long have you been doing the cinematography, directing stuff?
So I've been coming up on like 10 years now. Okay. So I've it's a lot of trial and error, and I was really trying to find out what kind of position worked for me. I knew I wanted to be in the film industry, like almost 10 years ago. And I didn't know what position I wanted to be, so I tried all these different ones. I did a lot of free gigs and stuff like that, and then I found cinematography, and I felt that it was the best way to tell stories, and that's what filmmaking is all about, is telling stories. And sometimes people lose sight of that, but for me, I felt like that was the best way to do it. I do write, I do direct, but cinematography is like my main passion, where I enjoy the lighting aspect, I enjoy the camera work, and even working with actors in that regard is something special. So
definitely, man. So yeah, 10 years. I mean, would you consider yourself like a seasoned cinematographer, still learning new things along the way, obviously, but it's been 10 years in the industry. In hindsight, do you look back and look like, wow, look how far?
Yeah, of course. Definitely very humble. Definitely very appreciative of all the stuff I've had, the achievements I've been able to accomplish and things like that. But one of the best things about being a filmmaker is that it's a never-ending learning curve. It's somebody who says they mastered cinematography or they mastered directing. They're kind of full of it because not every set, not every story is the same, and that's the beauty of it. I go to a different set or whatnot, and things are always going to be different, and we're always problem solvers. So the way you might plan it is not going to turn out the way you might think it's going to, when you get the set. So then we try to, figure out what's the best solution, and just doing stuff like that, it's awesome. So I love it.
Yeah, man, I kind of want you to explain, like the whole 10-year process from the moment. When was the first time you picked up a camera?
Funny thing, a lot of colleagues and a lot of people I know, they started out like at Super 8, or they started out with like just doing like photography like since they were a teen or a kid. I didn't find photography or camera work until like college, really. So I took an intro to film class with a great professor at Dianza College named Susan Tavernetti. And as soon as I took that, I was, my mind was open, and I picked up a camera. I started shooting stuff. I started doing a lot of free stuff, and even till now, I'm still learning, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, you explained that when I asked you to send me a little bit about yourself. That you kind of explained that too, like that. I would say it's a leap of faith because you were already having an established job. You had mentioned to me, so kind of talk about that.
Yeah. So during high school, especially towards the end. it was me and a few select students who were in this program where I had an internship at NASA, and
Wow.
you know I worked there for a little bit, and then they were gonna give us kind of like a scholarship type deal where we would you know, we'd go to like a community college, and we go to like Santa Cruz, or we go to some other university, all like pretty much covered, and then we'd have like a guaranteed job in, you know, in some type of engineering, and mine was robotic engineering.
Wow.
You know, I was in the process of doing that just because it's like, okay, they make hella money. They, you know, I could see myself living the lavish life, but then I just like, oh, I mean, I feel like I was good enough to do that job, but it wasn't for me. And throughout my whole life, I've always been, you know, about telling stories, whether it's drawing, whether it's, you know, just writing stuff, you know, just whenever, you know, thoughts just come to your head. So for the whole robotic engineering part, I just didn't see it for me, and I was like, well, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
So I took 4 years out of high school, kind of just, you know, the bachelor guy, just wanted to party all the time. You know, I worked at Home Depot for like 6 years, and you know, I just came to a point where my friends were like, no, let's go back to college, let's go back to school. I'm like, all right. And then that's where I found filmmaking, and 6 years later graduated, and then just now in the industry, just, you know.
I like that, man. I like that, and I think Odie would agree that you said something very important. You were working an internship at NASA. You were already getting offered. You already knew like the result was going to be good pay. You could have lived this lavish life, but kind of, can you go back a little bit and kind of talk about that decision making, the process of you actually being there, like, you know what, I know this is good pay, but it's like you said, it's not you.
Right.
You didn't love it, but you could have stayed there. You know, you could have been, you know, working at NASA or wherever, being a robotic engineer, getting a good paycheck year to year. I'm not saying you can't do that now. What I'm saying is a lot of people will convince themselves that I'm comfortable now. But you chose to take that leap of faith and, you know, let me take this intro class, and then it opened a whole new realm to you. Can you explain that process, that decision making process of you actually being like, you know what, I want to go into filmmaking?
Right. Well, the robotic engineering, it felt good, but at the same time, it was just gonna be, my whole life was just gonna be about equations, about, you know, which is not bad. I mean, it works for some people. Like, there's people who get into accounting. Some probably love it because they're all about numbers, you know what I mean? But I feel like the creative side of my brain just kind of took over more, and I was just like, nah, I don't want to do that. So I had no idea I wanted to go into filmmaking. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but one of my good buddies, Ricardo, he told me, he's like, yeah, you know, I go to De Anza, you know, I can give you a ride. Like, at that point, I didn't really have a car that was really working too well. I think I had like a 64.5 Mustang, and it was just kept breaking down, so... but it, you know, I was like, oh, it's a cool car. But anyways, so I went to college. I took, you know, all the general ed stuff you got to take in order to, you know, before you go to your degree, and you know, that's when I found the intro to film class, and after that I took another film class, and after that I kept taking more, and then it just became something like super interesting to me, and excuse me, and you know, I started thinking to myself, people actually get paid to do this? And even to today, I always think to myself, man, I would do this for free. But, you know, I know my worth. I know, you know, what you know, and plus bills got to get paid or whatever. But for the most part, it's, you know, it's not too many people who can do art for a living and, you know, just make money off of it. So, but, you know, in terms of that, changing that process, it was just a matter of like surrounding myself with people who were very like-minded, who, you know, I found my mentor, Barack Goldman at De Anza, and he taught me everything I know about storytelling. Yeah. So, you know, it all worked out. And just from then, I just kept pushing and pushing, just wanting to do a lot of stuff. And, you know, there's a lot of trial and error for sure. There's a lot of stuff where it's like, you know, should I be on this? Or even people would question, it's like, man, why are you working these hours or whatever? I remember I worked on a music video for like 22 hours.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it went right into my birthday too.
Oh, really? And you were working?
Yeah. But it, you know, it was for a good buddy. So, you know, for that type of stuff, it's like, you know, yeah, it's long. It kind of sucks. But at the same time, it's like, I know, you know, I do something for him, he do something for me, but that's not really the case in terms of like, you know, oh, you have to do something for me. It was just like we always supported each other. So, and I surrounded myself with people like that. And I shot a short a weekend ago, and majority of the people on there were just doing me favors and working for free because they you know, we like to be around each other. We like to be on the same crew for the most part, and you know, it's definitely a blessing.
That's
Sure.
awesome, man. Is there anything you want to add
No,
or say, bro? Or comment?
I just, it really captured me when you said pretty much for free, you know? Like, a lot of people
Yeah.
don't want to do anything for free nowadays, especially, like, putting in time, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially going into your birthday. Any other person would have been like, it's my birthday, bro. I gotta
I'm sorry,
turn
I can't
up."
deliver.
You know, I can't deliver,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
now the end result's here, you know?
Yeah, bro, I really like that. There's a lot of parallels to what you just said, because I want you to talk about more about the whole pruning of your friends. You know, not that you wanted to push away your old friends, but you
Right.
surround yourself because you know where you're going. And then also just the whole mentorship, you know? So, you know, first thing, talk about the whole transition and how, if there was any judgment, expectations of you when you started to go down your path and kind of distancing yourself from your previous environment, meaning getting
Right.
away from different types of friends and putting yourself in a different environment. I want you to talk about that first.
Right, of course. So when I started getting more into, you know, the whole filmmaking program, especially in college, you know, I met new people. Some came, some went. You know, that's just the way life is. That's the way it goes. And you know, I still had like my old friends, and you know, I still, you know, talk to them every now and then or whatever. But you know, once you set yourself on that path of where you want to be. It's not that I wanted to disregard my old friends or just like, nah, you guys aren't good for me or nothing like that. It's just we all led different lives, you know what I mean? So, you know, some of my friends were starting families already, and you know, other people were like moving away to different colleges, and the ones that were still around me, you know, to be honest, they just, some of them just didn't really go out anymore. So I was like, okay, you know. So as soon as I went on that path of filmmaking, you know, I met people, became friends with them, and it's like, wow, these guys are great. These are the guys I want to be around with, guys or girls or whatever. And you know, just kept pushing the envelope, and I've learned a lot from, you know, a lot of people that I surrounded myself with. Like for example, one of my good buddies, Oliver. When I first met him, you know, it's one of those things where you like fake it till you make it type of deal.
Yeah.
So he was talking to me about all this stuff. I was like, yeah, sure. But I was taking notes on the side, and I was like, I gotta learn this stuff. You know what I mean? But just a lot of that, you know. So
That's funny.
yeah, I mean, I still love my old friends and
Of course.
new friends and all friends, to be honest. But you know, it's just a matter of living different lives. And when I started college, people were already working. You know what I mean? They either like out of high school, they just wanted to work, or you know, they did like a smaller, you know, vocational type program, and they just wanted to work. And you know, like we were mentioning earlier, the whole you know, doing stuff for free, it was just an investment in me. So I was
You understood that.
exactly, yeah. Even now, like I'll do some shorts for free or whatever, depending if the story's really good, if I know it's gonna have potential and go somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, so I could even cut my rate or, you know, lower the services or whatever, just because, you know, I believe in it and it's an investment in my career. So that's the kind of thing that I really like truly believe in. And people who are like in this industry and all about money, it's like, okay, that's good for them, but you know, I'm more in it for the art, I guess.
Did
Yeah.
somebody instill that in you though?
Exactly.
Which
Like the
mindset,
the
right?
mindset of like give something for free, and then something's gonna
no,
come back.
not really, not
It
really.
just comes from
Yeah, but a lot of other filmmakers, or a lot of, you know, even like testimonials and things I've seen, a lot of people went through the same thing. There are those who are fortunate to know people and who can just be in the industry like within a year or within half a year or whatever. I know a few people like that, and you know, that's great for them. But for me, it took a really long process to get there. You know, like I said, I surrounded myself with like-minded people, but we were all in the same boat, where other people are like, you know, going, you know, getting up in the industry exponentially. And but you know, there was a lot of tough times for me. Definitely, I felt envy for other people who are like cinematographers. You know, I felt like, you know, why not me? And you know, especially in the beginning, anybody who starts in this industry, they want things to happen overnight. It's not going to. It's not, unfortunately. But if you're patient and you know, you put your mind to it, it'll definitely happen. Something will happen. But if you start slowing down, and that's the thing with me, I've always, you know, kind of took that into account. Like, I always got to be active. I always got to be doing something, because if I slow down, I'll lose sight of it, or you know,
The momentum.
yeah, exactly, and people will stop contacting me. And there's some people who are on that same boat with me, and then as I was going, they kind of just fell off and they did their own thing. It's like it's not for everybody. It's tough to make it in this industry. It's very cutthroat. But it's when you make something happen, especially the imagery or especially the story. It's even though you're getting paid for it or whatever, you're still proud of creating that because it's like, wow, I made that, or I get paid to make something like that. Look at the imagery, So, yeah, it's definitely a blessing.
Yeah, man, I like that. I want you to talk about what you just said right now. You had some hard times,
right?
And then I'm very interested in. I want to see what your take and your experience was on this. At the moment you start, not that you, like you said, you didn't neglect your friends. It's not like, oh, forget you guys. But were you at any point judged or like looked at different?
Because I was going into the industry,
like did you ever get those comments like, oh man, you changed, or or you're this is not you, or even kind of put more in context, like when you start seeing other people in your friend group already working and you're still like, oh man, like did you felt pressure, judgment by your friends? Because OD asked you something right now about the whole mindset. You said it kind of just came to you, but explain that a little bit because I like that. I like that how you kind of control the situations.
Right.
So were you judged, and how were you able to overcome the fact that other people around you were already in the workforce and doing their thing?
Right. From what I can recall, I wasn't really judged. I mean, I was probably judged on other dumb things, but in terms of like my career and where I wanted to go, I think people knew right off the bat that my career is like, the most important thing to me. Even when I met my wife, I told her straight up, it's like, this is a big part of who I am. It's not just a hobby, it's not just a job, it's my life. And she totally understands, and she's been very supportive, which has been great. But the whole judgment from friends, there wasn't really any. Maybe in the beginning, it's like, I see you taking all these classes, I don't see you making any movies, and it's like, well, I still gotta learn this stuff. I can't just. I mean, a lot of people though, they just like, and that's one thing I do recommend. It's like, film theory classes are great for storytelling or whatever, but if you're looking to pick up a camera and start shooting, do it right away, And in terms of, I'm sorry, what was the other question again?
The other question was your whole mindset about kind of seeing your other friends or peers already like in the workforce and doing their thing, right?
Yeah. So I mean, everybody kind of goes through that. In terms of me, there's other people making good money, but they were doing stuff that I didn't want to do. So it's like, okay, you do what you got to do. And then other people who are like, buying their own stuff and whatever. Me, when I was going through college, it was a bit rough. I didn't starve, but there were a couple of days where I was only able to afford like a meal a day or top ramen type stuff, the typical thing. Yeah, exactly. And my mother moved away to Fresno or Hanford, it's by Fresno, and so it was a little rough for me, but I was able to overcome it, and
build character.
Yeah, exactly. So everything worked out, and there was like we were mentioning earlier, there was a lot of tough times. There was a lot of trial and error, especially trying to make it in the industry. But overall, I just kept telling myself, be patient. More opportunities come. Like I've worked with numerous amount of clients, ESPN, Buzzfeed, Intel, things like that.
Yeah, man.
And
huge.
Yeah. Thank you. And there's a few jobs that I wasn't able to go on, or a few jobs that I was asked that that was passed on or whatever. And these were like really great opportunities. One of them was with like a WWE wrestler. Another one was to go to Finland to shoot some stuff. And I've been all over the world. I've traveled, I've shot, and things like that. But I always tell myself, and especially with my wife, my wife is kind of like my manager in a sense, where she'll be like, okay, how much are they paying you? What are the hours? What's the rate? All this stuff. So it's great. But when jobs pass by that I'm not able to go, or I got passed on or whatever, I always tell her, like, I'm always trying to keep positive. It's like opportunities will always come. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, it kind of sucks I'm not able to do this job, but there's always going to be more opportunities, and there
Definitely.
always is. So definitely works out.
Man. All right, that's some good stuff. Anything you want to add on, Odi?
Just on that part where you said that there was times where you had the rough times where you were probably eating top ramen.
Yeah.
What kept you going? Like, what was that Are you a man of faith? And what was that drive? You know, because I went through something similar,
Right.
and I knew what my drive was. You know, what I wanted out of it.
Right.
What pushed you to keep on going forward, knowing that you could be making money somewhere else, but you were following your passion.
Right. Well, it's a great question. Thank you. So there's a lot of times where I wanted to give up. A lot of times. I mean, I'm not going to say, oh, I'm no quitter or nothing like that, because I quit a bunch of shit, to be honest. But there's a bunch of times where I wanted to give up, and I just kept telling myself, is this really going to be worth it? Other people were telling me, you know, you're going to school, you're doing all this, it's going to be worth it in the end. I was like, I'm not seeing it.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you guys seeing that I'm not seeing, you know? But just what kept pushing me really is just like, I didn't want to work the rest of my life at Home Depot. No offense to people who work there. I mean, that's great. You know, people build themselves up and, you know, they make a career out of it. But I worked retail my whole life and I didn't want to do that anymore. So I found any reason to just try to pursue it. And even towards the end of college, it's like, do I even need a degree now? Because I was already working in the industry. But I knew how important it was, especially to me, especially to my family. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to push the envelope and just, you know, strive to get that degree. And a lot of my professors were wanting me to go for my master's to teach, because I do teach when I can. I love teaching about filmmaking. Where I currently work at Red Cube Studios, Red Cube Productions, I'll sometimes hold like a little cinematography classes or directing classes, producing classes, you know, stuff like that. You know, just to help people who are you know, in the same department I'm in, you know, just to help them learn a little more and stuff like that. So any way I can give back is definitely, you know, because I know the struggle, the upbringings of of learning the stuff, trying to make it in the industry, you know what I mean? And so, and there's a lot of people out there, a lot of professionals as well. They you know, they're trade secrets. They don't want to tell anybody shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing from you. I like that. I like that a lot, and I respect that, because a lot of people don't like to show what they know. They're like, oh, well, I struggled through it. You're gonna go through it too.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's cool that you do that, bro. I didn't know that.
That's
really cool.
I respect that, man. Because like you said, not a lot of people are willing to spit their game, or you know, what they have to offer.
Yeah, but, and then you know, just based on that, like you know, my mentor, you know, I met him when he was a screenwriting professor.
That's a good.
So I met my mentor, Barack Goldman. He's a screenwriting professor at didnt. He lives in Burbank now as a professional writer. But you know, when I met him, you know, I was a little afraid of this guy, because he wasn't your typical standard teacher. He would. He didn't really believe in the whole academics, but he believed in, you know, teaching screenwriting. So first day, he was swearing up and down, telling people, you know, you start acting like this, you're out, and just like, you know, almost like a warden. I was like, man, this guy is tripping. What's up with this guy? So, but after a while, you know, he would. So you know, you type up scripts as part of the you know, format of his class and stuff, and he would literally take your script and present it to the front of class and start tearing it apart. This sucks. This is lame. Rewrite this. And I'm just like, I'm not giving this guy my script. But after a while, we became really, really great friends, and he taught me everything I know about storytelling. Wow. And even to this day, you know, he's still a really great friend. I still go hang out with him, and we try to work on as many projects as we can together. But because of his teachings, because of like me surrounding myself with like-minded people, I didn't want that to really go to waste. And I'm not a person who's stingy, so I have a mentee now, and she's starting to wanting to become a director, wanting to do all this stuff, and I'm trying to help her out in the industry, introducing her to all these people. So right now she PAs and stuff, which is great, and you know, she's just trying to work her way up, but. Yeah, I feel like it's a wasted opportunity to not teach people. You know what I mean? It's like people.
And I feel like it refreshes your mind too.
Oh yeah,
like
totally.
Memory, you know, you're just repeating it to yourself again.
Yeah.
And you're putting it into action. So.
Yeah, and it feels good. You know, I feel great giving back, or feel great teaching. Like if I wasn't really working too much, I probably would be teaching. But you know, I'm definitely grateful for what I have, the opportunities I have, and even the ability to teach. So it's great. Yeah.
Man, I like that, dude. That's some good stuff, dude. I talk about the influence that mentor had on you. Like, I know that you said like you guys became good friends, but like how did that influence you and bring up your game? Because you mentioned you were scared to even show your script. How did you kind of like, okay, You could easily be like, screw this guy. Who is he to tell me if my script's good or not?
Yeah.
Right.
Because everyone tells you, just who cares what people say.
Right.
However, this guy was very assertive, right?
Mm-hmm.
But talk about how that influenced you and how you kind of like grew that friendship with him.
Right.
And how the long run now.
Yeah. Well, so when I met Barack, it was like the intro to screenwriting classes. After I'd taken a couple of film classes, I was still learning.
Mm-hmm.
So when I met him, he was teaching us his whole format. It was very Hollywood structure, first act, second act, third act, all that stuff. And it was a bit nerve-wracking at times to be around him or whatever, but after his class, I've learned so much. And I was like, wow, this guy, he's a little intimidating at first, but he's a fucking sweetheart. Sorry, getting my no, he's a sweetheart. And I was like, man, I want this guy to teach me everything. So took a few more screenwriting classes with it, and what really just made the whole experience, especially at De Anza, propel into something that boosted my career or boosted everybody's learning, was he introduced this class, and it's kind of like a studio class. It didn't last very long, unfortunately, but in the class we shoot 2 shorts, and everybody acts as a different position. So you have an editor, assistant editor, you have a director of photography, camera op, assistant camera, gaffer, grip. So everybody was something. And that was like the beauty of it, because we all just learned together. We all worked as a team, and not too many schools do this. And here comes Barack providing this opportunity, and it's so lame that they cut it, but it was one of the best film classes I ever took in my college career. Even because after De Anza, I went to San Francisco State, and the program's great, but for me it was a little remedial because I already knew the stuff. I was already working on the stuff. You know what I mean? But I just I did it to get my degree, but throughout my whole college career, that class with Barack,
the most impactful.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I felt like I gained like about 3 years worth of knowledge by taking those classes. And I took it twice. One of them, luckily, he made me a director of, which was great.
Nice.
Unfortunately, that short got stolen. The footage got stolen.
Oh, really?
Sorry, Barack. It's we worked on a few projects afterward. I helped produce one of his shorts, and so I think overall, like the guy's my brother. We're really good friends.
That's
so.
awesome, man.
Yeah, it worked out. Yeah.
I think mentorship is very important, man.
I think
in
so
any
too,
industry and in life, whether it could be a physical person, it could be books, it could be videos. Now everything's digitized.
Yeah.
But I think mentorship is very, very crucial, man, and you can see the result, and then obviously the friendship,
Yeah, no, totally. Like I've talked to some other people who had mentors before, and they're just like. There's like mentors like, okay, I've done enough for you. You can go do your own thing now. It's like,
kind of just cut
So that's kind of lame. So, I still learned some stuff from Barack, but overall we're just really good friends now, and we just want to work on making more content. To be honest, so
I like your whole your format, man. Like the documentaries you do and like the people you document. That's one thing that really caught my eye about what exactly you do, because it kind of goes back to what you're saying about creating things that you actually believe in,
right? And
there's a purpose behind, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, man, I love everything you've been saying so far. There's one more thing that I kind of want to dig deep before we end this, and I kind of want to talk about your upbringing, how that kind of influenced you. You mentioned that you kind of grew up around a single mother and then 4 other brothers.
Yeah.
In hindsight, where do you sit with your brothers? Like, are you in the middle?
Yeah, I'm in the middle.
Oh, you're in the middle? How did that influence you, everything, who you are now as a person? Or did that influence you at all?
I think the main thing that influenced me is that I don't take anything for granted growing up with 4 brothers. So for the most part, my mother was single. She would have a boyfriend here, or she got married here, things like that. And she did the best she could for us. So, that's all we could ever ask for. So, it wasn't a lot, we weren't like poor or anything, but we were like borderline, like, she was on welfare. So we were, you
experienced.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there's 4 boys, or 5 boys, that she had to take care of. So it was, I know how rough it was for her. Yeah. But in terms of like, the upbringing, as a middle child, I was like not really paid attention to when I was younger. It was like either the baby or the oldest, you know what I mean? And then, I just started to I wouldn't say get envious, but I was just like, no, I just want to be an adult. I want to be treated as an adult, at the age of 9. So it's like, why is nobody taking me serious? This is insane. And but it came to a point where we just, I started going to school, and I started just, doing things for myself. And, I love my mother. She's very proud of me and all the stuff I've accomplished and done. But for the most part, I would say the whole influenced me to become a storyteller and stuff like that, or working in the movies. It kind of just came upon it, to be honest. Like, like I was mentioning earlier, at a young age, everybody has their dreams of what they want to be. You know what I mean? And I was just looking to make money. I was looking to do whatever else, and I found filmmaking, and I was just like, wow, this is amazing. This is what I want to do. But in terms of like my upbringings and the hardships, none of that really. There might be some stuff that might kind of influence that, but for the most part, it was just like, know what I'm worth, don't take anything for granted, and these aren't just rules to live by. This is just like that was kind of instilled in me at an early age, and I'm very grateful for to my mother, to my family, to my brothers for all the stuff they've done for me. They've all been very supportive, and
of course,
it's tough sometimes because I don't spend or talk to them as much as I'd like to, but slowly working on that.
Of course.
But we all have our busy lives.
Of course, man. Yeah. No, that's great stuff, man. I think, dude, that was a great conversation. I've learned a lot about you and through you at the same time.
Right.
And one thing I want to mention, man, like the whole back to the mentorship thing. I think that you could be a very great mentor to other people.
Thank you.
And I think that's like a process of life. You get taught by others, but then there's a point where you teach others as well.
Yeah.
And that's what another point in this podcast that I try to make, that people are the best teachers. And they say that teachers are the best students. Just like OD mentioned, you teaching is just like repeating yourself and sharpening your skills.
Right, exactly.
And just, expanding your knowledge on that.
Yeah.
So once again, man, I appreciate your time here.
Yeah, of course.
You want to close it off, OD?
One last message to anybody that's watching this right now. Anything you feel like you want to say on camera?
Yeah, sure. Right here.
Yeah.
So, I come from like almost nothing, and I'm not saying that I'm the top cinematographer in the world. I'm no Roger Deakins or nothing, even though he's a great influencer. But just put your mind to anything, and you got to be patient. It's not gonna happen overnight, and whatever you put your mind to, it'll happen. I'm working in the industry as a professional, and it's something that I truly love. It's a huge part of my life, and if you want to do that, or whatever you want to do, just push for it. It'll happen. It may not happen the way you want it to be, but it'll happen.
That's great, man. Great stuff. Yeah. John, once again, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Won't be the last time, man.
No,
we'll definitely connect.
Pleasure to have me anytime. Yeah, I love it.
There you guys have it. Another successful heist, another successful episode on this podcast. Learned a lot. Can't wait to share this one. So that being said, keep striving, guys. We're out.